I don't think in the history of any political party has any man been suspended for the last 4 years. But that doesn't mean that the Congress party doesn't like me. I keep telling people, Congress and I are in a live-in relationship. The Congress is not as great or good as it used to be. Clearly, the numbers tell you that. However, I believe when you lose, you got to get out there and fight harder. People say Modi is invincible, the BJP is hard to defeat. I don't agree. I think even in 2024, you may have a surprise. The truth is, all the BJP, whether it's a cabinet minister or an MP, looks like they're robots, man. They look terrified of him. Today, you criticize Modi or the BJP. People are like, कोई FIR तो नहीं आ जाएगा, कोई defamation suit तो नहीं आ जाएगा. Which what world are we living in? भैया हम बिहार के हैं, हम लोग भी लाठी उठी चलाने आता है, बदमाश है, बिहारी का सब बदमाश भी होता है.
I love the switch, man.
बात बता देते हैं, मोदी जी को सबसे ज्यादा परेशानी बिहारी के लोग देते हैं. लालू जी हुए, तेजस्वी जी हुए, प्रशांत किशोर हुए, है ना, सब लोग बिहार के हैं, भूलिएगा नहीं. नीतीश जी पलटू राम हो गए, लेकिन नीतीश जी भी बिहार के हैं. काफी तकलीफ दिया उन्होंने मोदी जी को. आई एम वेरी प्राउड टुडे Aabir to be on your show and tell your viewers that I am the only guy in politics, member of a political party, a face of a political party, suspended, and I don't blame the party entirely. Maybe I crossed the line, I don't know. But the truth is, I haven't left my party. I haven't sold my soul. I haven't gone to the BJP. I haven't gone to some other party at all. And I won't. So on your program, I want to tell you, Aabir, even if the Congress were to expel me tomorrow, I feel very proud that I have stuck on to what I believe in. Guess what the BJP is doing is learning from the Congress. The BJP, after criticizing Manrega, is using it. The DB, direct benefits transfer, is the Congress, the BJP is using it. Aadhaar is Congress, the BJP is using it. GST is a Congress structure, BJP adopted it. So he has learned from the Congress what to do. You know, when Bilkis Banu's rapists were released, I mean, her story is the saddest story one can ever imagine. I don't even dare to contemplate how she survived what she's gone through. The day her rapists were released, when India is celebrating its Independence Day, I was like, what are we doing to ourselves? You have Virat Kohli and the Rohit Sharmas and the Neeraj Chopras. We are part of this country, right? The Shah Rukh Khan. So much of talent, so much of brilliance we celebrate. And this is what we are doing to our own fellow people. To me, a Bilkis Banu is as important as a Shah Rukh Khan or a Virat Kohli or a Neeraj Chopra or a Narendra Modi or a Rahul Gandhi. She has equal rights, fundamental rights to the Indian Constitution as we all have.
And this is a brand new episode of Wassup Aabir. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Aabir Lahiry. Joining me today in conversation is somebody जिनके sense of humor का मैं काफ़ी fan हूँ. Who has always been a vocal voice of Indian National Congress, ex-spokesperson of Indian National Congress, and what has been his journey, उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. Welcome, Sanjay Jha. How are you?
Pleasure, man. Great to be here.
You're coming up with a new book, India in Free Fall, 2024. भाई साहब, जब से चुनाव आता है, ये जो आजू-बाजू खबरें आती हैं, this is like one of the most interesting conversations anybody can have. And especially with a spokesperson who is associated with one of the leading political parties.
I was.
Past tense. You're still a member of the Indian National Congress. I guess you'll always be the member of Indian National Congress.
I'm introduced very often on TV channels with a lot of dramatic flourish. The suspended member of And as I write in the book, I am probably in the Guinness Book of World Records. You better take my autograph before this program is over. I'm serious. I don't think in the history of any political party has any man been suspended for the last 4 years. But that doesn't mean that the Congress party doesn't like me. I keep telling people, Congress and I are in a live-in relationship. Which, by the way, has more fireworks, passion, than probably a regular marriage.
ठीक है. Makes sense. आ जाइए, please आइए. Let's go back to 2020 actually.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ji. Let's go back to 2020 actually. What actually happened? I know you have spoken this in a lot of interviews. You have always been a vocal voice. You have given positive or constructive feedback to Rahul Gandhi, and that didn't work out well. But don't you feel when the Congress is actually trying to re-innovate itself, it is a feedback from a कार्यकर्ता जिसको appreciate करना चाहिए था, वो करो ना करो, suspend तो नहीं करना चाहिए था.
See, when I joined the Congress, Aabir, I joined for purely ideological reasons. Now I know when somebody hears this, they will laugh. कि यार Indian politics में anybody talking about only ideology, you got to be completely off your mind. But the truth is, if you ask me, if you don't have an ideological or a philosophical commitment, frankly, you should not be in politics. Like I believe that, you know, so when I hear somebody leaving BJP to join X party, which never happens, but the Congress, you ditch the Congress to join BJP. I mean, that to me is bizarre, outrageous, because their ideology is completely contrasting. It's like saying that overnight I switched from Dalai Lama to Donald Trump, right? Okay, so for me, I was one of the oddball guys who grew up, and I have written that in my book. When I was a young guy, my dad bought me The Discovery of India, My Experiments with Truth, and I grew up, frankly, really admiring Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Nehru. In fact, my entire generation, I think, has been like that. So when I joined the Congress, I was like, listen, this is a party that fought for India's freedom. I agreed it has screwed up, it has done many suicidal blunders, but that is par for the course, right? You are not going to do everything right all the time. True. The Congress is not as great or good as it used to be. Clearly, the numbers tell you that. However, I believe when you lose, you got to get out there and fight harder.
Makes sense.
You know, that's what, you know, I'm a club level sports person. And when you lose a match, even if it's a friendly match, you want to come the next day and, you know, try and actually neutralize the deficit.
Agreed.
In the Congress, Aabir, I was appalled that we kept losing. We came down to 44 seats in 2014, kept losing state elections, and nobody was angry. I'll give you an example. In 2019, when we lost the elections, I was at the great AICC headquarters as a spokesperson. I was, you know, we were all assembled there to speak to all the TV channels. The results were depressing, 52 seats. By evening, I think I was getting a serious headache, you know, out of
कि कैसे justify करूं?
What happened? What seriously happened? And you know, you have pain and anguish, because I believe the Congress has got a great ideology, has got fantastic talent, and is losing. So I was pissed off, agitated, hopping mad. But when I looked around me, I thought people were so chilled. I mean, everyone is like, it's okay, it's happened, but you know, I think, you know, when you lose, you have to have a sense of angst.
Yeah.
You got to be a little furious with yourself. True. Why did I screw up? I found people in the Congress were very reconciled to the situation. Now, somebody will tell you, a self-help spiritual guru will tell you that's the way to live. But I can tell you, boss, if you're in politics or sports,
but that doesn't happen in a fight, yeah.
You can't just keep. It's like you throw the whole kitchen sink. True. You know, it's like the whole 9 yards. I was very disappointed. So I spoke internally to my friends in the Congress saying, you know, we need to do something about it. One of the people I reached out to, which I did because I've known Rahul Gandhi for a very long time. And since even before he became an MP, I've known him before he even formally got baptized into politics. I've known him since then. And you know, I found everybody was not kind of reacting with the kind of deep, shall we say, you know, frustration of what are we doing to this great grand old party. So nobody heard, nobody wanted to have a dialogue. At one point, I was compelled to write an article in the Times of India because nobody heard me, nobody wanted to talk about it. Internal democracy remained more or less a lip service. So I wrote a long article in the Times of India, actually on my birthday.
Oh.
Coincidentally, it got published on my birthday. What a memorable birthday it was. 3rd March 2020. And that article, actually, if you read it, tells the Congress why we need to fight to defeat the BJP, which I think is contrary to the very idea of India that we talk about, even if they're winning the elections. So when I wrote that article, all hell broke loose. And I got suspended a couple of months later.
But if you know somebody, जिससे आप MP बनने से पहले से जानते हो, for example, किसी इंसान को, you have spent a decent time with him in, of course, in a very intimate space, in a very close vicinity. How can the conversation not go into a positive direction. I'm just wondering, अगर मेरा कोई बहुत अच्छा दोस्त होगा, मेरा लाइफ पार्टनर होगा, मेरे क्लोज बडीज होंगे, वो गाली भी बक देंगे मुझे, तो मुझे शायद somewhere down the line I'll actually look into myself कि हाँ हो सकता है क्योंकि इस इंसान ने बोला है तो सही बोला होगा. कोई और yes man होता तो obviously आप नहीं सुनते हो. Like for example, if somebody is very close to you and is giving you a feedback, like a constructive feedback, why wouldn't anybody listen to it?
A very logical question. Yeah, I frankly never thought that the party will suspend me. I need to be frank. I thought the people will say, "Hey Sanjay, what's up? I'm glad that you're speaking up, but why don't you talk to us informally or
Agreed.
formally
Within
the confines of a room? Why go public?"
True.
And that's a
Logical
very
statement,
sensible framework. Nobody reached out to me at all. And I think, where Rahul is concerned, personally, I need to put this on record. Great guy. And his heart is in the right place. And we worked wonderfully together after 2004. But, I think the 2014 defeat, for which I think he got disproportionate blame because he was made the face of the party for the campaign. The UPA was carrying a very peculiar baggage, largely of its own doing. But that's another story. But I think Rahul went into a cocoon after the 2014 defeat. I think he took it too personally. He shouldn't have. In politics, you got to be invested emotionally, but you can't afford to beat yourself down. Tomorrow is another day. There are no permanent winners in politics and no permanent losers in politics. Like for example, a lot of people say Modi is invincible, the BJP is hard to defeat. I don't agree. I think even in 2024, you may have a surprise. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. 2024, I have actually given it a title saying India is in a free fall. While the world is talking about digitalization, highways, blah, 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 the truth is, and Aabir, I need to be blunt on that, it's a slight digression from your question, but I'll come back to it. Please. That if you look at any society, if you look at India, what is the beauty of this country is diversity.
Diversity.
And we're destroying that. You're destroying that. End of day, can you imagine 1,400 million people living under fear? I just, by the way, drove in, had a wonderful conversation with my driver, who happens to be from one of the Hindi heartland states.
Bihar?
And if he is the voice of India, Modi is not coming back in 2024. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, he is angry. He's like, for all the hype and hoopla, frankly, nothing has happened at the ground level. I come back to the Rahul question because it links to what I just said. You lost 2014, it's not the end of the world. There are 28 state elections between two general elections. Win as many as you can. Right?
Makes sense.
And remember that the very people who have defeated you actually had put you in government for 54 of the years since 1947. The Congress has won 10 of the 17 general elections, despite losing the Vajpayee elections and the last two to Mr. Modi. So I was disappointed with the Congress and with Rahul to some extent. Rahul retreated. So earlier we used to have a lot of meetings and conversations. Rahul's responding to the emails became infrequent. Meeting him became a Amazonian climb. And I think Amazon should... I'm actually doing that endorsement.
I'll sell this joke
on Flipkart. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Bezos needs to give me part of his market capitalization. So the bottom line is, Aabir, that I think Congress and I think to some extent began to disconnect because I happen to be a bit of a upfront guy. And I'll tell you the advantage I have of probably making a lateral entry into politics is the fact that, we have worked in corporate environments where you call your boss by the first name.
Makes sense.
It's absolutely chill, you're not like sir and all that stuff. And I'll be very frank and I'll share it with you on your very popular podcast. I have never called Rahul even in any conversation as Rahul ji. It's awkward because he and I really got along. I'm saying he's a real, to borrow the Gen Z term, he's a real cool dude. Yeah. And I therefore was disappointed that Rahul, who came like a breath of fresh air, instead of trying to make the party into a more vibrant, young, freewheeling, candid conversation, in fact, I told him, call people in to just say, tell us how messed up we are. That's how you get going.
कितना
right?
सही idea है.
Not like, I see Narendra Modi's pictures on video, he's addressing his people, and all the BJP, whether it's a cabinet minister or an MP, looks like they're robots, man. They look terrified of him. And I'm like, this is exactly what I need to be the opposite. Be chill, be informal. Have conversations,
एक तो ये कुर्ता पजामा, मतलब I have no
Dump it, boss, I'm wearing jeans
हाँ,
and a
मतलब
tee,
मैं
man.
भी कुर्ता पजामा पहनता हूँ.
Yeah.
I love wearing कुर्ता पजामा.
Yeah.
But I'm tired of seeing 99.9999% of Indian politicians just wearing kurta pajama and that Nehru jacket.
I have, by the way, written in my book that when Paranjoy Guha Thakurta of the very famous news click fame, when he met me in Mumbai, I think he always was astonished when I wore a ripped jeans and a casual tee.
Wow.
I'm like, just because I am in politics and I love the public life of being in a political dialogue day in and night out, doesn't mean that I don't have to be what I want to be.
True.
Why do I have to be apologize? By the way, let me tell you, I wear jeans and a sneakers and whatever, but hang on. For the guy who wears white, who probably is making hate speeches, I'm much better than him, even if he looks like a politician. Or for a guy who's corrupt and making money by the sly, you think he's better off just because he's not wearing maybe cargos? Or he's not wearing a round neck t-shirt? What crap are we talking? So, Aabir, frankly, I mean, this is why I'm really loving this podcast with you. I think the young in India need to see
They really want to see Rahul Gandhi wearing not boxers but shorts and
whatever.
good t-shirts and being comfortable.
Just be who you are.
Yeah,
and to be frank, Rahul has pushed the boundaries. Remember, he jumped into the waters.
Yeah.
He rides
drove bicycle in Ladakh.
That's what I'm saying. I think Rahul's only mistake has been he's allowed the party to overwhelm him. When the party actually gave him a carte blanche saying, tell us what you want us to be like. And I think the battle is always, for maybe Rahul is, how far can I push the boundaries? He didn't. The party eventually ended up consuming him. So I think end of day is for Rahul now, to kind of try and reboot the party into becoming a truly liberal party. And how do you become liberal? When people are able to access you and talk to you. And I don't want to do a commercial here for the Congress and Rahul, because the truth also is that I wish Rahul was more accessible. If he was, probably.
Are you still in contact with him? Like, you speak to him?
Well, to be frank, I mean, I'm more in contact with Priyanka.
Okay.
And I have written that in my previous book.
Okay.
Priyanka has got a very high level of EQ. I rate her. I'm telling you, she's the most underrated.
Never met her, so
I'm telling you, Aabir, she's the most underrated politician in this country.
मैं आपको चिट्ठी लिख के देता हूँ, मेरा जुगाड़ भेजवाना उन तक.
No.
I really want to invite her on this podcast. मतलब मेरा गरीब सा podcast है, बहुत छोटा सा podcast है. So I won't fetch you n number of millions of views. That I can assure you. It may be very in thousands or things, but I'll have honest conversation. I would really have enjoyable conversation, honest conversation. जैसा whatever she is, I would love to interview her.
I'm telling you, I will, by the way, convey the message.
ठीक है, done deal.
I seriously will.
ठीक है.
And I can tell you this for a fact that your chat that you're having with me, I wish we could have these at 9 o'clock nighttime cable news, which is so stuffed up. Everyone is boxed into a pigeonhole, and it's a blood fest, and that's not the way Indian politics should be. In fact, if you ask me, why aren't we having? I mean, Cyrus Brocha, by the way, happens to be a very good friend of mine, Cyrus and Kunal.
Yeah.
And their program, which used to come on CNN, is no longer there. And I have said it on his program that if you look at America, their comedy programs late night is where people go to find out what happened in politics during the day.
True.
And here we are so serious, guys.
You look at Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Saturday Night Live, all these
It
are
rocks.
heavily political.
It rocks.
Rock.
And you have fun.
Yeah.
And you poke fun at politicians. And Cyrus's program is no longer in CNN. And, and I told him, and I'll say so on your show, that if I have a choice, if I probably was calling the shots, the first thing I would do is to tell all stand-up comic artists, go and lampoon all the politicians starting with me. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because you think people don't screw up, they don't make mistakes.
They do.
I mean, come on.
That's what makes them humans.
Absolutely. And anybody who takes himself or herself too seriously, frankly speaking, I think, you probably don't even live a full life. I think the only persons who I think I love to take seriously is those who can laugh at themselves. Look at the world we live in. Today you criticize Modi or the BJP. People are like, कोई FIR तो नहीं आ जाएगा, कोई defamation suit तो नहीं आ जाएगा. What world are we living in? Right? By the way, that is not BJP alone, even other political parties. The moment you're critical of somebody, people come after you. That's awful.
I really, since we are talking about comedy, I really loved when Shashi Tharoor, also a member of your party, also an MP from your party, actually performed at One Mic Stand for Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And the funniest joke was, अगर किसी को कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा, we'll blame it on Nehru.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, like for example, a lot of people joke, okay, कि यार संजय बॉम्बे में रहता है. He's a South Mumbai guy. There are some
South Mumbai guy.
There are some BJP spokespersons who come on a show. I won't name them. You know who they are. They come and they say, well, he plays tennis. He plays tennis in a club. Boss, since when did playing tennis in a club? By the way, even SM Krishna played tennis in a club. I know Jayan Sinha, who's the BJP, loves tennis, from what I know. How is that a disqualification? Okay, and by the way, if I'm a member of a club, so what? What's the big deal? I think everyone aspires to be a member of a good club. Why not, right? So here is my point. We are into such cosmetic judgments that I should judge you by, hey, Aabir kya pehna hua hai? By the way, I should only know what you want to talk about. I should be interested in know what's your thought. We can argue on issues, but we are judging people. Kya uska dharma kya hai, uska jaat kya hai, uska ye kya hai. Pathetic. And I think, people who judge Sashi and me because, we are considered to be,
Gen Z icons from
whatever, elite. I mean, people buy.
पहली बात तो पैसा कमाना पाप नहीं है, ये भी लोगों को समझना पड़ेगा. I know गलत तरीके से पैसा कमाना, चलो आप गलत बोलिए.
That is a different issue. Yeah.
But you are from a corporate background. You have studied in XLRI, Jamshedpur, that too in HR. You are a flamboyant personality when it comes to studies and everything. You have worked in a corporate. You have certainly went to the corporate career to earn. मतलब वहाँ समाज सेवा करने तो गए नहीं थे. जब पैसा कमाने गए थे, तो पैसा कमाना पाप क्यों है?
And by the way, as long as I have not earned anything illegally,
yeah, everything is fine, right?
Everything is fine. And you don't have to be apologetic about it. I for example, when people say, I'm an English speaking, भैया हम बिहार के हैं, हम लोग भी लाठी उठी चलाने आता है, बदमाश है, बिहारी का सब बदमाश भी होता है.
I love the switch, man.
बात बता देते हैं. मोदी जी को सबसे ज्यादा परेशानी बिहारी के लोग देते हैं. लालू जी हुए, तेजस्वी जी हुए, प्रशांत किशोर हुए, है ना, सब लोग बिहार के हैं, भूलिएगा नहीं. नीतीश जी पलटूराम हो गए, लेकिन नीतीश जी भी बिहार के हैं. काफी तकलीफ दिया उन्होंने मोदी जी को. So I'm just going to say that end of day, stop judging people based on what they speak and how they speak and where they live. I think why am I in politics? Bottom line, I believe India deserves to be a great country. I mean, the young, the history, the culture, the expectation, the ability to be resilient amidst odds. What a history our country has.
True.
Then I look at our politicians and I am like, it's pathetic. I mean, we are like fracturing our own polity. Everyone is into their own self-promotion. And you think about the life of the common person.
But that has always been there. Everybody was in a self-promotion.
I think so.
But even Rahul Gandhi was in a self-promotion.
No, I can tell you there is a famous thing that if you are in politics, you have to be a bit of a narcissist because frankly you're always looking for a public adulation, right?
True.
You're looking for how many people are now following me and so on and so forth.
True.
That may be true as long as it doesn't become pathological.
Yeah.
But the other aspect is, Aabir, frankly, that I think the overriding purpose of politics has to be, what am I giving back? Am I making a material difference to the world I live in? I, for example, am convinced that, when you look at anything, like for example, I have written that in my book again. Somebody asked me, why haven't you ever fought an election? Can I give you the reason?
Yeah, please. I would love to know that.
I'll tell you. Yeah. If I ever fight a Lok Sabha election, I will fight it below the number stipulated by the Election Commission. And
like below the number means?
You are allowed a maximum spend of 90 lakhs.
Yeah.
And I would fight below that number. So I mentioned that to some people who are like, we have no chance. I'm like, why? But they said on an average in a Lok Sabha election in India, people spend apparently 20-25 crores. You remember?
And that too like the lowest, sabse kam
I
wala.
believe so. You remember Mr. Munde, the late Mr. Munde mentioned somewhere I spent 8 crores publicly. So I'm saying, that end of day in our country, if your start in politics is going to be through something which is
Paisa.
contravening the law, you can never actually be a politician that you set out to be. I am not here because, I have no dynasty issues. I have nobody from my family
Dynasty
in
issues,
politics.
wow.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah.
I have not got any government contract, nothing. Anybody can
Go
completely
scrutinize.
scroll down my entire company and my past record to find where have I got some ill-gotten money. Zero. So I felt I have a legitimate right to come and try and make Indian politics better. So I'm in a way a crazy guy in Indian politics because I'm here to see if I can bring about change. I honestly believe that change is required. Someone asked me this question. I'm very proud today, Aabir, to be on your show and tell your viewers that I'm the only guy in politics, member of a political party, a face of a political party, suspended, and I don't blame the party entirely. Maybe I crossed the line, I don't know. But the truth is, I haven't left my party. I haven't sold my soul. I haven't gone to the BJP. I haven't gone to some other party at all. And I won't. So on your program, I want to tell you, Aabir, even if the Congress were to expel me tomorrow, let's say following this program, somebody says, why did he say this about Rahul? Why did he say this about the Congress?
But you didn't say anything wrong.
Nothing wrong, yeah. You read my article, it's an article which today, 4 years later, I can actually say, I told you so. I mean, it's on the Times of India, anybody can Google that. Here is my point, that I feel very proud that I have stuck on to what I believe in. And I feel it's a tragedy of Indian politics that it's become an Ayaram Gayaram place. Honestly.
Makes sense. Since we are having this conversation, 2 points दिमाग में आए. Firstly, a lot of people may have this question in mind, which is, are the official spokesperson of a particular party, they are paid a salary? It is like a full-time job for them? Or it is like you are just a member of the party and you don't, like all the other members of the party, they don't get any salary or stipend, right? So until unless you are at a political position. So is it like a salaried profession? Or it is just a contributing, like a collaborative?
Well, I never got any salary and frankly, I didn't expect any.
Everything was pro bono.
Everything, once you join a political party, you're expected to do things for the party without any
monetary exchange.
No, zero. It is hard work, by the way, let me tell you. A lot of people feel that, today, some of my colleagues who are now representing the Congress like Supriya or Pawan, and I have done that for many years along with Manish Tiwari, etc. And we fought a battle. There were times in 2013-14 when the Congress was getting
thrashed here and there.
I mean, it was hitting the ceiling from all over the place, right? And we were doing back-to-back channels. I remember doing on one day, it was not an election day, 8 channel interviews. I don't know how we were doing them actually. It was a different kind of energy. You wanted to fight, you wanted to win. And therefore, you came from a different headspace. A lot of people tell you that politics is about being rational, knowing the numbers, the logistics, do the permutation combination of the spreadsheet, look at the voting trends. But I think the most important ingredient in politics is dil, boss, jazba chahiye. Yadi dil ho na, to sab kuch ho jata hai. You need jazba. You need a, जो कहते हैं लड़ो तो जुनून के साथ लड़ो. I always told people in the Congress and I still want to tell them through your show. आप मैदान में लड़ने के लिए मत आइए. मैदान में आइए जीतने के लिए. You have to tell yourself one thing in politics, Aabir. This is not cricket or Wimbledon where the runner-up also makes a victory speech or a loser speech and gets a trophy and everybody claps. In politics, the winner takes it all. One man standing, or rather the last man standing. So if you're not, and that's how the BJP fights. Now I'm a big critic of Narendra Modi.
But they are very good with the strategy.
One thing I have to concede, I know many people in the liberal class are not going to like this. One thing which I admire about Narendra Modi is he fights.
Very good orator.
And he's ruthless.
I
don't agree with this Sam Dam Dand Bhed politics.
Okay.
But I love that ruthless determination that I have to win it at any cost. right? Now, the at any cost is the problem area. But that, that desire to win, that
Let's
grit,
do it. Wala scene.
that is something that you got to learn from. I always believe, right, that you got to learn from your opponent. Guess what the BJP is doing is learning from the Congress. The BJP, after criticizing Manrega, is using it. The DB direct benefits transfer is the Congress, the BJP is using it. Aadhaar is Congress, the BJP is using it. GST is a Congress structure, BJP adopted it. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is a Congress's old scheme. The
Really?
the BJP is using it. Manrega, Modi criticized it in Parliament, Modi is using it. Modi is getting people like, he's got people like Jyotiraditya Scindia, Jitin Prasad, RPN Singh, good people. Good people. He's got them into the BJP. So he has learned from the Congress what to do. The Congress must get itself inspired by the BJP on one thing, that to win is hard work.
Makes sense.
And it's a 24/7 into 366 day operation.
True. Since we were talking about spokesperson, मतलब share it openly from your heart. कई बार ऐसा होता है ना, when a journalist or a news anchor is asking you a question and somewhere down the line we screwed up, but at the end of the day you have to justify as well. Isn't it a very big dilemma कि यार करूँ कैसे? मतलब पता तो है यार कि गलती है हमारी, certainly कई बार agree कर भी देते हैं कई लोग, लेकिन then to जब सामने वाला और टेक ओवर कर रहा है, यहाँ से समाजवादी पार्टी ने बोल दिया, वहां से बीजेपी ने बोल दिया, तो like you are trapped from all the sides, all the angles. How do you defend that? How do you tackle that?
Well, to be frank with you, one of the things when you work in a political party and you're a voice of the party and you're going to be seen publicly, you know that you're representing not just yourself, you're representing millions of people who are karyakartas of the party, right? Now, say the party is on the defensive, not necessarily wrong, that can be a question of debate. Like, for example, there are charges, but until they are proven. Technically, it's not a conviction. So you can always argue the case. But there are times when you know that you're on the defensive, right? You did something wrong. In which case, I think what keeps you hanging in there is the conviction that even if you did something wrong, you did not do that intentionally, number one. Number two, you actually need to tell yourself that it is human to make a mistake, that you can't be doing everything right all the time, right? Give me the name of one person in the world, whether a politician or a businessman or a celebrity or an actor or a sports person, Indian or foreign, who hasn't made a mistake. They all have, right? In fact, because we made the mistakes, we end up doing better in the future. True. So I think you got to tell yourself that. You got to convince yourself before you go for the debate that, you know what, this is not going to be easy. I have to explain the role of the party during maybe a very difficult time. Maybe we had a corruption charge. Maybe there were charges that you did not handle the riots well. Maybe there were charges that, hey, you lost people when you should not have. Maybe you actually did something which was unethical. Highly possible. Happens all the time. Like, for example, electoral bonds, right? Telling SBI not to disclose names. Ooh, that's big. So here is the story, in my opinion, that when you become a spokesperson for a party, you got to toughen yourself up. But I think where Indian politics needs to mature is that you should be able to go on a TV channel and say, actually, we did goof up. I would like to see it graduate beyond just being tough and just trying to be a bold face. I would like to go on a TV show and say, we made a terrible mistake. We don't do that in Indian politics. You know why? Because if a Congress or a BJP spokesperson goes on a show and say a BJP spokesperson goes on a show and says, you know what, on electoral bonds, it's not opaque, it's terrible, it is actually contributing to political corruption and we should do something about it, that guy will lose his job. He shouldn't. But the Supreme Court has said it, he's saying nothing wrong, right? The same with the Congress. I think this is where we don't have debates. I'll give you one example of it. In the United States or even in UK, you are able to publicly disagree with your own party members to get a nomination. So supposing in India, supposing in India, in the Congress, there was a public debate between 5 people who wanted to be Congress president. So last time there was between Mr. Kharge
and
Dr. Tharoor. but they did not really have a face-to-face debate. What if there were debates? What if there was Dr. Tharoor? What if there was Sachin Pilot? What if there was Rahul Gandhi? What if there was number 4? Hey, what if I was the 5th guy?
And it's a public debate.
We all contest our views on how Congress should come, how we should fund it, what are our views on climate change, how do we take on the BJP, how do we raise money, what do we do for Gen Z, what do we do to make sure that India doesn't have a mental health problem, how do we debate the role of industry, how do we end tax terrorism. Let each and every candidate, let Rahul have a view, let Sachin have a view, let Sashi have a view, let a 4th candidate have a view, let me have a view. And let the Congress people decide. That's how open it should be. You get what I'm saying? It's non-existent. So I believe one of the biggest problems of Indian democracy, why we are a work in progress. हम कहते रहते हैं ना, we are a mother of democracy. 0. It's a murder of democracy if people within the party can't speak. And in outside, when there is dissent against a party or a government, people are scared of being put to jail or being harassed.
True.
We are a long way from El Dorado, boss. It's a hard climb, but I am very optimistic by nature.
That's a good thing.
All Dariwalas are. You look at another Dariwala, Mr. Modi is saying 370, highly optimistic, but he's optimistic, right? You can't. That is a human trait I actually am not very critical of.
और होना चाहिए.
होना भी चाहिए.
Bad in being optimistic.
Life is about hope.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that end of day, I'm optimistic because I believe this country is beautiful. It's so diverse. It's so. In my own home, my wife is a Gujarati. Lived in Maharashtra. She speaks better Marathi than she speaks Gujarati.
Wow.
Yeah. And
you are a Bihari living in
Bihari
Mumbai.
living in Mumbai.
So you speak like Bhojpuri Bihari as well as Marathi.
हाँ सब कुछ चलता है हम तो पूरा एकदम पूरा
यही मजा है
पूरा वही तो मजा है. And my daughters speak great French and Spanish.
Wow.
And I'm like, hang on, that is what India is all about, right? You go down to Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, you see a different India. Beautiful India. You go to Bengal, हर जगह की संस्कार और संस्कृति है. Go to Gujarat, go to any part of this country. It's beautiful. I think I'm very confident about India because this diversity is such a strength that no political system can overwhelm it.
That makes sense. Let's go back to the book. बहुत सारे anecdotes हैं, बहुत सारे essays हैं. You have spoken about a lot of incidents.
Yeah.
How did you thought of writing this, and what was the entire process of writing the book?
If you read the prologue of the book, the trigger for this book came when I was returning from actually Manchester, where my daughter was studying.
Okay.
And I was returning back from Manchester, back to India. I'd gone to visit her, she was studying there. And I encountered this taxi driver over a 10-minute taxi ride. I was very impatient. I thought I was going to miss the train. It was the hottest day and there was bad traffic. And I had a flight and I thought I will not get there. Yeah. Eventually, that's what happened actually, but that's another story.
Okay.
And there is this conversation I had with him. And it got me so, I felt emotionally soaked by the end of it. Here I was miles away from India with a fellow Indian on a 10-minute taxi journey. And I heard his story. And I said, I related to that story because I know the story of my own country. That's a trigger for the book. And if you ask me, when Bilkis Banu's rapists were released, I mean, her story is the saddest story one can ever imagine. I don't even dare to contemplate how she survived what she's gone through. The day her rapists were released, when India is celebrating its Independence Day, I was like, what are we doing to ourselves? When I was in college and there was an elocution contest, Aabir, I borrowed, one of my favorite speeches was Pandit Nehru's 1947, August 15th, Tryst with Destiny speech. It gave me goosebumps. And forget the politics behind it. Yes, I'm a Congress supporter, but forget that for a moment. But, releasing the rapist in the most horrendous manner of a woman who's been humiliated. Forget the molestation, it's humiliation. It's like taking away a person's right to dignity. I told myself, this is far too, it's blasphemous, it's sacrilege. You can't do that. You can't do that. And it got me into a frame of mind where I said something is fundamentally wrong. And I know it's wrong, but this wrong, frankly, it shocked the daylights out of me. And then you look back at it. In Parliament, you have a member of Parliament who makes a speech, horrendous, ugly, vicious, toxic, against a fellow member of Parliament belonging to a minority community, essentially attacking the entire community at large. And no one says anything at all. Nothing. And I think about it that at the same time, this country has brilliant businessmen, brilliant students from IIT and IIMs and science students and commerce students and unicorns and startups. You have Virat Kohli and the Rohit Sharmas and the Neeraj Chopras. We are part of this country, right? Yep. The Shah Rukh Khan. So much of talent, so much of brilliance we celebrate. And this is what we are doing to our own fellow people. To me, a Bilkis Banu is as important as a Shah Rukh Khan or a Virat Kohli or a Neeraj Chopra or a Narendra Modi or a Rahul Gandhi. She has equal rights, fundamental rights to the Indian Constitution as we all have. And if we fail one person, like for example, I was part of the Congress when the country went up in arms on the horrific Nirbhaya gang rape. I supported that movement for change. Because this is not about politics.
Politics, true.
Yeah, no girl, no woman should ever go through what she went through.
True.
Right? Why can't everybody just kind of take a step back and be bipartisan? Right? And I just feel, have we become a country where we'll say this molestation is 80%, that molestation is 30%, that molestation is 100%. I think, end of day, Aabir, you're a young man who does this wonderful podcast and so many young people see that. I tell myself with my experience, right, I have 2 young daughters. Why am I in politics? I want to tell myself, what am I giving back? I've been lucky. I consider myself very privileged. An MBA, a PhD, working in corporate sector, living in Mumbai, being part of politics, being able to commentate on it. I feel, am I making a difference or is it about me? It's not about me. So let me tell you, I'm happy to tell you it's not about me. I haven't, therefore I will never leave the Congress. Congress expels me, I'm not going to any party. I'm not joining any party for any seat. It has no attraction for me at all. I feel I'll have done a good job if I'm able to make people think and look at their country in a different light, based on what I think is right, not just for them, but for everybody around them. Right? It's time to give back. I think if politicians of this country begin to look at their jobs as winning an election and then going back to their constituency to serve their people.
Nobody goes, man.
Nobody.
That's a sad. Like, I wouldn't say nobody goes, but you see majority of the people actually don't go to their constituency and serve the people. You won't see वो क्या बोलते हैं public conversation होते हैं. People go visit rallies, लोग उनके बंगले पे आते हैं, मिलते हैं. पहले ऐसे solve हो जाती थी problems. There is so much of bureaucracy, there is so much of red tapeism कि इनसे बात कराओ, इनसे जुगाड़ करके ये जुगाड़ ना कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर में अपने लाइफ में बहुत अच्छा लगता है. जब नेता से मिलने के लिए जुगाड़ करना पड़ता है और अपने काम कराने के लिए जुगाड़ है ना, then it's a problem. It's a worrisome situation. Since you were saying that you'll never change party, this and that.
No chance. Zero. Let me just say it's zero.
See, what do you say about horse trading? It has become a phenomena, और मतलब ये आज का नहीं है, हमेशा होता रहा है. So I won't just blame it on BJP or Congress, this or that. It has been a phenomenon. Don't you feel it's very wrong? I ask a lot of people on this podcast, don't you feel it's very fundamentally wrong?
बिल्कुल. I have joked about it, Aabir, कि कि the government should start, मैं तो बम्बई में रहता हूँ, where we have दलाल street, दलाल means brokers, और वहाँ पर शेयर बाजार में सबके शेयर
ऊपर नीचे
होते रहते हैं. हम लोग दिल्ली में एक MLA और MP का स्टॉक एक्सचेंज कर लें. MP MLA स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, उसमें PMLA भी आ जाता है, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट. ठीक है, स्टॉक एक्सचेंज बना दीजिए, हर MLA पर MP पर एक दाम लगा दीजिए, ट्रेडिंग होने दी, जिस पार्टी के पास पैसा है उसको खरीद ले, वो उसको खरीद ले, वो खरीद ले. इट्स अ जोक. ये जो हम लोग वी हैव नॉर्मलाइज्ड इट कि ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, कोई अजीब बात नहीं है. लेकिन आप सोचिए, आपने कभी सुना है कि कोई रिपब्लिकन डेमोक्रेट को ज्वाइन कर रहा है वहाँ पे, या कोई डेमोक्रेट रिपब्लिकन को ज्वाइन कर रहा है? नेवर हर्ड ऑफ, because they're ideologically different.
It's a fight for ideology.
It's a fight for an ideology. Am I pro-market? Am I pro-middle class? Am I pro-poor? You know, my view on exports, my view on should I liberalize more? Should I be more protectionist? Should I be more nationalistic?
It's more of a DNA. It's your DNA. You can't change your DNA.
It's your core. It's your core. समझ गए आप? Like for example, बीजेपी के बारे में जितना भी मैं उनका समीक्षा करूं या उनकी मैं आलोचना करूं, मैं एक बात मैं समझता हूं कि वो जो कहते हैं वो करते हैं. वो छुपाने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं कि हाँ, वो उनकी राजनीति में सांप्रदायिक रंग है, वो रहेगा, वो जाने वाला नहीं है. धर्म निरपेक्षता पर वो भाषण दे देंगे, लेकिन उनका एजेंडा में जो कहते हैं ना, मजहब की सियासत खेलने में वो नंबर 1 है, वो छुपाते नहीं है. ये बात अब दुनिया समझ गई, तो लोग ये कहते हैं कि चलो एटलीस्ट आई नो व्हाट आई एम गेटिंग इफ आई वोट बीजेपी. That is the problem that political parties need to understand. Ki you need to get your ideology right. You know, to me that is something very critical. Your question is ki how do people shift then? Because there is no ideology. It's about self. कि अब मैं चुनाव हार चुका हूं तो अब राज्यसभा में घुसना है. अब राज्यसभा has become a place for all politicians who have failed to become politically relevant, right? Let's be honest about it, right? Correct. Right? Ideally, a Rajya Sabha should be a place of people who are public intellectuals,
Yep.
right? Or people from political parties who can make speeches, good speeches on policy and program.
At least that's what even I have learned in my 7th, 8th class social studies, civics.
That's why it's called the upper house.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a logic behind that upper house, because you are not likely to be the candidate who's fighting the, the entire, what they call is the real getting your
grassroots.
The real grassroots, which can be very rough.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that we have ignored that eventually politics is not meant to be a transactional, self-aggrandizement driven, it's not about your own career going through a certain trajectory. Politics must be principally about what you're giving back. I know there are jokes on politicians that he shakes your hand first and then he shakes your confidence afterwards, right? Yeah. Or why do you change a politician? Because politicians are like an underwear. You change it for the same reason that you change an underwear. It gets dirty. So here is the point, right? Here is the point, Aabir. The truth is this, that principally you have to be driven by public service. In the process, you become a minister or you become a prime minister, good for you. You become a statesman, fantastic. Why not?
Why not?
Right? Mr. Zelensky is a stand-up artist.
Yeah.
And
famous.
And one of the bravest leaders of his time. Right?
Yeah.
So here I'm going to ask you a question now. Let me just...
Please, let's do that.
Why can't Aabir Lahiry dream of becoming a prime minister? My question is, now you say, hang on, is he being flippant? No, I'm not. Let me tell you, in a country, everyone has a right to dream what they can.
Agreed. Why not?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have spoken to you outside of this camera, and I have found in you a sharp, super intelligent, I mean that, super intelligent, highly sensitive, extremely evolved, and a grounded individual. You will be an asset, in my opinion, if ABP ever releases you for any political party. I'm serious, right?
It's a good work.
Because you bring intellect, you bring content. I believe anyone who's funny is the sharpest.
Yeah.
Because you got to be so well wired up with what's going on in the world and then connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell
Comedy is a serious shit, bro.
It's serious, man. It's serious stuff, right? And it's very serious stuff, which is why.
जितना easy लगता है उतना easy है नहीं एक joke लिखना.
Boss, on a serious vein, that's one of the reasons why most of the great stand-up comic artists have battled mental health. Yeah. Because you're never happy with what you have done, right? You're constantly looking around to raise your bar. Yeah. People don't understand that. They judge you by just how much you make them laugh. So I'm just going to say this. That anyone watching your podcast, dream of being a prime minister tomorrow yourself.
You should.
It doesn't have to be the prerogative of somebody who's, got some advantages. Anyone can be that person.
True.
You understand? I think the key ingredient to me for success is conviction, courage, and character.
Makes sense. I have a counter question to what you were saying. What has Rajya Sabha become? Let's hypothetically imagine कि 2024 में कांग्रेस आ जाती है, राज्यसभा का टेन्योर भी रीशफल होता है, जो राज्यसभा की रूल्स है 1/3 मेंबर go out then comes and जो भी. Do you think that you will be able to change the brain drain what has happened? If you claim that that has happened in the Rajya Sabha, you will be able to change that in that short span of time, or maybe in 10 years, if it has become a norm now. If it has become a norm, it is very difficult for any new political party, since अगर आप 10 साल बाद आते हो, you will be a new political party, it becomes very difficult to change the norm. और आपको भी उसी में फायदा दिखेगा, ऐसा नहीं है. अगर आप बोल रहे हो कि बीजेपी को उसमें फायदा दिख रहा है, तो कांग्रेस will also benefit from that. कि चलो जिसका लोकसभा में जो नहीं जीता उसको राज्यसभा में डाल दो. If that becomes a norm, it will be very difficult for you also to change it.
Yeah, I agree. And one of my ideas for that is that the party should, if the Congress were to come back to power, what I would recommend to the Congress is frame your constitution in such a way, your party constitution, where you say that anybody who leaves the party voluntarily, not suspended, okay, anyone who leaves the party cannot come back to the party for a period of X years. There should be consequences, man.
Yep.
You get what I mean?
Yep.
Number two, if somebody is leaving a party to join the Congress, you will have to serve an X period of time before you will get a ticket to contest an election.
Like a cooling period.
Cooling off. You have to first tell me, are you a committed soul? Because the question somebody will say, if you bar it, well, it is against the fundamental rights, right?
Yeah.
People can change their
mind. And they have their aspirations too.
But I think you should force a change. If you leave my party, don't come back to me for 10 years. So you have to think when you leave the party. Because when a person leaves the party, they know this party can come back. And if you want to join me from, say, the BJP, you're not going to get no ticket from me for 5 years, for example, minimum. And you'll get no official position, nothing where you'll be compensated. You'll have to just work hard for my party. So then you have to buy into my ideology. You see, the only way this country will change is when you force salutary changes in your governance and all parties adopt it at the same time. Now, if the Congress does it, but the BJP doesn't, then you still have an asymmetrical situation.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this is where, I want Congress and BJP and the other parties to sit together and say, guys, let's create a rule. Like in the corporate world, where many companies do it. I remember we have done it. You don't poach me, I don't poach you.
Yeah, there's an anti-poaching.
Yeah, there's a clause, and you respect that, and you should do that. And you see how this whole Operation Lotus and Ayaram, Gayaram, Palturam stuff will come to an end.
Makes sense. I actually enjoyed this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Because I didn't expect that this answer would come.
Thank you.
And this sounds like a very interesting answer. And my perspective thoda change hua hai.
Thank you.
On that note, I guess we should wrap this podcast.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Any end note, any end address you would like to, anything you would love to share? क्या प्लान है मतलब 2024 के लिए? You are not the official spokesperson from Congress,
right?
So, but then you're actively involved. You're a member of the party.
Yeah. I'm a member of the party, and I want to just tell you that I don't know how 1 hour has actually zipped by.
1 घंटे हो गए क्या?
Yeah,
close to a wow.
Yeah, close to an hour. No, thanks. You've been a wonderful. I'm not used to this, right? Not being interrupted. So it's been quite a privilege. I just want to tell all your viewers, this is a great country. A great country. And I'm going to tell everybody that, your vote is precious. Your vote is equal to the vote of Tendulkar, is equal to the vote of Mr. Gautam Adani, is equal to the vote of a Virat Kohli, is equal to the vote of a, Ranveer Singh, right? Exercise with care. Never vote on some kind of a herd mentality. Vote, you're voting for the future. To the young, because your program, I'm sure, is watched a lot by the young. I'm going to tell them, vote for the party or a leader who you genuinely believes in climate change. An issue that nobody talks about. The second issue is mental health. No politician talks about it. And these are issues that are plaguing our young today.
Yep.
Not just urban. It's not just an urban elitist thing to say. This is across length and breadth.
A lot of people may not know the meaning of mental health or depression, but they suffer from it.
And look at the unemployed people, what they go through. It's horrific.
Yep.
And that's happening in the rural parts of India.
Yep.
So I'm just going to say, if you look at politicians, Aabir, they live from election to election. So nobody thinks of climate change. They think, hey, let's take care of our fossil produce here, and the other guy will take care of it when it happens, right? That's not the way to be. So I am going to tell you, my job here is not to canvass for, I support the Congress, I will vote for the Congress, I'll want people to vote for it. But I would tell people to take a call and vote for the leader and the party that you genuinely believe will fight for your rights for the future. That's how a country is made.
That makes sense. On that note, बहुत shukriya for having this conversation, and you'll surely pass on my message to Ma'am Priyanka Gandhi.
I'm doing that. I'm going to send her an email today itself.
Done.
Yeah.
You're not on WhatsApp terms with her? अच्छा वो tap हो जाता है इसीलिए. ठीक है. बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you for having this conversation. It was lovely.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.